So I had a big gap in my schedule today, so I decided to do. Well, I luckily brought my homemade TRX. I decided to do a little training outside in the some awning and some open space. So to make use of my 4.5 hour gap, I went ahead and did some stuff, and I decided to choose some challenging positions. And um, yeah, this happened to be the first time I ever tried this. Pistol squats. And how do you make a pistol squat easier? You can add a lever, right? So TRX just takes the full blown body weight and offload some of it into this angular kind of momentum, and allows you, if you can't do a one-legged squat, to kind of explore that range. So that's what I decided to do this. So this is the right leg. I always like to start with my, I'm not going to call it my bad side. I'm going to call it my challenging side. It's the most challenging side. So start with the side that seems to be the most challenging, and then the good side should be, or the the side that's a little less challenging should be way more accessible. I found the balance on the side to be actually more challenging on the left. Um, Maybe because my left shoulder is the one that's the most recently broken bone in my body, but yeah, so anyway, you just kind of go through the motions, and I found this one really heavy duty on the quad, which is great. So I think I found myself a really sparky, spicy quad exercise, and I don't feel like it blew my knee up, really. And I've been forcing a lot of leg stuff lately. Just go in there, just do it, just challenge yourself. I was told my right knee is such a mess. Probably going to need to be replaced, and then I should stop squatting. Well, you know what I think about that? No. Challenging exercises, of course. We want to continue the challenge. So I'm very limited on my external rotation on the left. And this one was shown to me by Dr. Seth. And I love it. I love it a lot because there's a lot of problems with my left arm being like, my left arm has had 2 surgeries at the elbow. So olecranon was basically nailed back in. And the humeral head, right, the olecranon is part of the ulna. And then the humerus is, sorry, humerus. The radius is the part that articulates inside that little fossa there. So anyway, both of them had to get nailed back in because I broke them both off when I. It was really embarrassing incident. Everyone's like, "What did you do?" I was running to English class, and there was a little wire fence. The little wire fence was maybe like 16 inches up off the ground, and there's a post that basic 6x6 posts all the way kind of across the back of a school field for like a junior high, and it just keeps cars out of the fields, right? And so, 17-year-old me, bell rings, English class, it's time for English class. I flick my cigarette, I hurriedly kind of start booking it towards the school, and I just didn't jump high enough. And I paid for it. I paid for it with like 9 broken bones in one shot. Hold on. 3 broken carpals, so 3 radius ulna, 3, 4, 5. Then 2 broken carpals in my right hand, so 5, 6, 7. And then a fractured radius ulna, but I didn't completely explode them. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's 9. 9 broken bones in one shot. So it was a doozy. But yeah, the left one, I didn't think I was going to have really any issues, but I think I tore something in it last year, doing skull crushers with like 2 plates aside, and I thought a pop, and ever since then it's been a real challenge to get that side strong again. But we're doing it. We're doing everything we can, and that one is interesting because the force is acting at the shoulder, or external capsular rotation, right? Passive kind of ER under control. So it's not a total passive exercise, right? You have to control yourself into bottom range, end range we'll call it. And then, like I said, that's where all the good stuff happens. That's where all the stretchy, painful, challenging stuff occurs. And then you have to get out of that range under control. So you have to contract out of it with some semblance of control. And this is going to help build you up on all your other upper body lifts. Because if you can't get into a painful and vulnerable range in control, how are you going to get out of it, right? So we got to always be mindful of that, like forever now, basically. So that's the thing. And yeah, this is just, I'm just trying to make the best of a huge gap in my day. And so this is just a really easy couple exercises to do. So what did we do? One-legged squats. The other one, the external rotation one, that's called McLeod fly. Then we did, well, now we're doing, we also did one leg, yes, and then now we're doing rear flies, right? Really trying to control it on the way down, slow on the way down, because you get the peak weight at the bottom, but there's like minimal contraction at the bottom, right? So if you kind of slowly open up at the bottom and hold at the top and then slowly let yourself down, you get as much, and I'm trying to let the scapula go at the same time because I want rear delt, I want scap, I want everything to kind of work together. I want rear delt, I want forearm, I want forearm flexors, I want everything to work really hard because, you make the most. This is an easy exercise, right? But the more extreme of an angle you put yourself at, the more difficult it's going to be, right? So that is the point. That is the point of the exercise. And I did all these for 3 sets. Just filmed the top sets. That's usually how I film it, because why film 3 sets of this? It gets really redundant. For pec fly, I don't feel like there's any range that's really useful here, except for end range, because it's maximal challenge on proximal head of bicep, maximal challenge on the coracal brachialis, it's maximal challenge on the pec in general, pec pectoralis major. It's maximal challenge on forearms. It's the max challenge on everything. And so if I get weak and tired here, now I'm going to start to like arc up into overhead position, maintaining this static. And it's difficult, but useful, really, really useful. I think it's one of the more useful exercises because I have to set scap, I have to set delt, and if I don't set properly, my shoulder slips out of place. And you feel it immediately when your shoulder comes out of socket. It's immediate feedback, so that's great. You see the shaking, see the breathing, see the struggling. It's great. It's a great exercise. And then, garden variety, curls, and tricep extensions. And like, I got really nothing else to say, man. Like, you got no gym. I got this. This thing, I got it at this orange thing here. There's supposed to be 2 of them. You're supposed to put them kind of in an XY pattern underneath a very heavy object, and 2 people are supposed to basically put their arms inside the loops and push away from themselves an object and then move it around. It doesn't work very well, I'll tell you that. But repurposed for this, works great with a pair of old straps, like old handles that I've had left around, with some medium duty eyelets I found at Canadian Tire for like $3 a pop. Basically made out of garbage from around the house. And you have what would be like a $70 piece of equipment. I think I got it for like, we'll say almost free, because it was garbage. It made out of garbage and some hooks. But if I really did the math on it, I think that strap thing was $10 total for 2 straps. So we'll divide that by 2, $5 for the orange thing. The eyelets that are connected to the straps, $3.50 a piece. So they costed more than the strap, honestly. And then the straps, like the actual handles, I'd say the handles probably cost me the handles probably the most expensive part of the whole assembly. They were like $15 for the set. So 15 plus 10 is 25, plus 7 is like 31 bucks. So yeah, I guess it's hard to get away from the fact that it will cost a couple bucks. But look, what would have been trash is now a TRX. And no gym, no problem. Just hook it up on something anchored tightly above you and get busy. Play with your angles. Just make it work, right? This is a Brad Shepard-ism, I'm going to say. I'm going to call it a Shepardism. He said, no matter what's going on in your life, and this is something I'm going to take to heart, no matter what's going on, good, bad, the ugly, you just make it work. No money, make it work. No gym, make it work. No, not time, make it work. No energy, make it work. It's Brad's way. So, yeah, I'm surrounded by some of the most. And Brad is an amazing squatter, by the way. Go check him out on Instagram. Bradley Shepard. They kept calling him Bradley in the Animal Cage 2024, and yeah, hats off. I'm so glad I went and saw. I didn't have the money at the time, but I heard what he was going to do, and I dropped everything, and I was like, I'm going to see him try. And he had me in there with
So
Bollinger, and he had us spot him.
I'm not doing this to show off or nothing. This is like the process, right? If you break a bone, you got to build it back up. So I started from like in the pool, dude, not even in the pool, like lifting my own arm up with my other arm. Zero effort, right? Just going through a range of motion. And then slowly, once I could do that without, without the buoyancy of the water, my arm floating and the heat, doing it on its own. And once I could do that, adding a tiny bit of weight. Once I could do that, I'm here now. This is not impressive. This is not heavy stuff. But the most important one is the one where I'm forwards and my arm is at a 90 and I'm cranking back into external rotation and then coming out of it. External, crank, external. This is where all the good is happening, is back here. Because I'm getting a capsular stretch and then I'm internally rotating out of that capsular stretch, out of that weak position. Critical. Because if you've lost range or access to a range, we need to explore that range more and more as much as you can, because you got to get in and out of that range eventually, because eventually the world is going to make you go into that place. And if you're vulnerable when you get into that place, you're going to get wrecked when you get there. And trust me, the world will force you into your most vulnerable position. And that's not a direct, I'm not talking about in just position wise, I'm talking about in life. Life will force you into your most vulnerable positions, and you have to be strong there. You have to have control. And it's kind of like a metaphor for life. You have to practice this over and over. Get into your weakest position, be as vulnerable, be as exposed as possible, come out of it under control. That's all training is, man.
So obviously, final exercise. Final exercise. This is again to challenge. So this is a Luke Remington directive thing. After I told him what was going on with the diagnosis for the knee, he's like, "Okay, this is going to sound ridiculous. This is going to sound like a no-go, do not do it kind of thing." But he's like, "What I want you to do is put your feet as close together as possible. Go on the sled, like on the leg press. Put your feet so that the ball of your foot's hanging off. Sorry, the ball of your foot's on the sled. Feet are together, and you're gonna bring the sled all the way down until basically your sacrum almost rounds out, lumbar spine almost rounds out. That means you're bottomed out. You're as knees to your face as you can. You're as knees sheer as you can, and you're gonna pound these out. But we started with like the empty sled plus a band, and slowly added. I would add 5 pounds a set until I felt like I couldn't really do another set of 10 or something. And so this is a really great emulation because it hits the quads hard. There's like no weight involved really except for body weight. And if I kind of put it the more and more extreme of an angle, it'll take more of the weight. If I put it less and less extreme of an angle, it'll take less of a weight, right? So the less I put the weight into my hands there, the more the weight is like directly on my knees. The more I lean into it, the less weight is on the knees, right? So it's just kind of an angle thing. So you just got to work your angles, and yeah, this took a couple of years to get to, but it's a challenge. And I'm getting ready to get under 400 soon, which is this is a big deal for me. So 400, after 400 we're looking for 5, after 5 we're looking for 6, etc., etc.